Welcome to The Blue Dot, Northern Kentucky's premier political podcast, brought to you by the Kenton County Democratic Executive Committee. Welcome back to The Blue Dot podcast, where we shine a light on local voices making a difference in their communities. In this special What's Happening in Your Holler episode, we're headed to Breckenridge County, named after John Breckenridge, a Kentucky Attorney General, state legislator, United States Senator, and United States Attorney General.
Yes, and we have two Democratic leaders from Breckenridge joining us today. John Whipple is chair of the Breckenridge County Democrats, and Chance Peterson, who is the vice chair. John also happens to be running for Kentucky House District 10. And Chance, we just found out you're running for magistrate. And what is that district again?
Would be District 4 here in Breckenridge County.
District 4 magistrate. So thank you for running and welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Good to be here.
Good to be here. Thank you for inviting us.
Absolutely. So let's start with the basics. Just you guys can tell us a little bit about who you are and what you've been doing in Breckenridge. So I don't know which one of you want to go first. It's up to you.
I'll go ahead and start, Chance.
There you go, John.
I'm a retired Army. Got stationed out near Fort Knox back in like 83. So that was quite a while ago. And I'm a Kentuckian by choice, not by birth. I grew up in Michigan. And when I came here to Kentucky, married a local girl, and we did our thing traveling all over the place, all over the world. And when we came home, the place that we picked that we wanted to raise our family was here in Kentucky. And we did that because it was home for us. You know, we had family here, we had friends, we had a connection. I got a job teaching public school, and I'm not kidding you. I got the job because I walked out, I was dropping my son off, and there was a sign in the window said, "Help Wanted Language Arts Teacher." And walked in a week later. No kidding. A week later, I'm teaching class. And that's just the way it is. You know, I don't know if we can do that anymore in Breckenridge County, but at the time, it worked for me. I got started in politics back when Matt Bevin, or being interested in politics, when Matt Bevin started doing all his shenanigans, trying to attack the public school teachers, attack KEA. And ever since then, it's just been trying to get to a place where I can make a difference.
Yeah, that's great. You definitely are, especially just stepping up to run and having the courage to run and to get involved. So thanks so much for that.
Yeah, so as John said, he's a Kentuckian by choice, but I'm a Kentuckian by birth. I've spent about every minute of my life in Kentucky and about every one of those minutes here in Breckenridge County. John was actually my 8th grade history teacher. So I've known John a long time, and he's always been a big inspiration for me. And I live here in Breck County with my wife and 6-week-old baby boy. I'm a new dad, attorney, and as you all said, I'm running for magistrate here in the 4th District in Breckenridge County. There's been a Democrat on the fiscal court in Breckenridge County since there's been the Democratic Party, I imagine, and we don't have one now, so I'm hoping to change that and represent our district well.
That's great. Well, we always like to ask the question that Governor Beshear always asks, and that is, what is your why? Why are you a Democrat?
I believe that we have to have strong public schools, strong labor laws, and the people ought to be able to make their decisions on their own health care. Yeah. And the Democratic Party is the only choice. If you support any of those issues, then you have to support the Democratic Party. And I'm 100% for all of those. That's my why.
Awesome. How about you, Chance?
I like it.
I'm a Democrat because I believe the Democratic Party's always been the party of the working class and working families, and I want to make sure it stays that way.
Absolutely. And, you know, on the Blue Dot, we talk a lot about kitchen table topics. And I think that across Kentucky, most people are talking about the same things. But I think in each county, as we talk to people from around the state, there may be some nuances. So I'm just curious as to, you know, you being leaders in the community there, what are maybe 3 kind of top kitchen table topics that you're discussing with your neighborhood down there in Breckenridge?
You want to start? Go ahead and start, Chance.
A big one for me here in Breckenridge County is the lack of good local jobs. We don't have a lot, and if we could get some economic development brought in here, some manufacturing, or we have some industrial parks in Irvington and Hardinsburg, and hopefully find some residents for them to bring in some better jobs. Bringing in good local jobs will do wonders. A lot of people in Breck County, including myself, have to travel 2+ hours a day to a good job. And the more we can get people closer to home and keep that money in our community, the better. So for me, a big one's better local jobs.
And you guys are kind of situationed to give people a little bit of lay of the land. You're kind of between Evansville and Louisville, right? Would that be a good
Right.
way to
Yeah,
describe
about halfway between Louisville and Owensboro. I like to tell people we're in the north central western portion of the state.
it?
And we're just
Right.
north of E-Town and about a half-hour drive from Fort Knox.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
All right. We had a military month just recently, and we had General Don Campbell, who was stationed down there in the Fort Knox, and then George Wright was also at Fort Knox for a while. He's the president of the Veterans Council in Kentucky. So I don't know if
George,
you were there at the same time with in either of them.
if it was, I was probably just a young private when he was a younger major. But I've known George for a while. He's an incredible man, and I appreciate
Yeah.
his inputs that he gives regarding the political situation in with the federal government. He's got a perspective that people need to hear.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
he was great.
I was kind of struck by comparison between the two, and again, it's like based on personality as well, but through the service, you're nonpartisan, right? I mean, you're always as I think it was it George or Don that said he was basically just registered as an independent during most of his military career because he just wanted to make sure that he stayed right in that middle. But George was kind of unafraid at this point in his life and what he's decided to focus on to come out against some of the policies of the administration and call them by name. And I think maybe there's a little bit of risk in that, but also, as you said, his perspective, a military person, his 40 plus years of service coming out and saying that has a big impact on people. And I think it was important to hear that. Not to take anything away from Don, but I felt like George was really wanting to be a little more activist in his later life in that manner.
And we need that kind of activism. I'm a member of the VFW, and I have to say I'm not very active in it because of their reluctance to be involved in issues that they really need. They really have a voice in. It's a whole lot more than just the VA and healthcare. When you spend your life working toward the Constitution and defending our democracy, that's every bit as important as keeping the VA open and making sure that the retirement checks come in every month.
Yeah, and again, it's not to denigrate anybody who doesn't speak against that. I know it's the military code of honor is very strong, and I mean, I totally respect and appreciate that. But again, it has a big impact when someone with that experience comes out. And I'm also a non-native Kentuckian, Illinois, married a Kentucky girl. She dragged me back here. And it wasn't kicking and screaming. I love it here. It's great. I've been here for 40 years. But I wanted to get back to those Kentucky kitchen table topics. John, I'm not sure if you were able to talk about some of the ones that, are like top of mind for you and your constituents.
Well, I talked to a couple folks today, and I was telling them that I was going to be on your podcast and ask them. And of course, everybody talks about the price of food, the price of healthcare, and in my opinion, us at the county party level, we only have two things that we can do. Chance and I, we make sure that every week, or excuse me, every meeting, we do a collection for the local food bank
Very cool.
at our party meetings.
Right.
We did a donation day back along with KDP when they did it back in October. But really, that's just the minimum. One of the things that's really important is that voters go out and they look at who's in charge and putting these and causing the instability that we've had. Why are the prices going up? And looking at who's in charge of that and saying, I got to quit voting for these guys. I can't keep voting for the same people that keep making the same mistakes. And so our point is that we have two things. We try to help each other locally, but we got to support those candidates, identify candidates and support candidates that are going to go to Frankfurt, that are going to go to Washington and say, this is it. We got to work for the people and those kitchen table issues rather than subsidies for huge corporations, right?
Yeah.
We don't need to help Walmart anymore. We need to help the Walmart shoppers.
Yeah, I think they're doing just fine.
Yeah.
I like that as a bumper sticker slogan. Like, we don't need to help Walmart. We need to help Walmart shoppers. Right. And
Thank
that is
you.
what it all comes down to. I'm going to get a t-shirt.
Yeah. Chance, I like the way you said you always felt like the Democratic Party was the party of the working class, because I've always felt that way. But yet, I think over the last year or two, with some of the election results, et cetera, the Democrats have felt like they were out in the wilderness trying to figure out, where did we go wrong? What happened? And the Republicans tried to, basically grab a hold of that, moniker of being the working class party, although we know that their populist roots are really not that deep. But what makes you say that? Did you ever feel like maybe the Democratic Party was losing that? Do you feel like the Democratic Party wrings their hands a little bit too much about that and just keep going forward with the messaging?
I think if the Democratic Party does not make their number one priority helping out working families and the working class, then we're going nowhere fast. And also, that's the only way to really make change in this country. I am very afraid a lot of the time that the Democratic Party is becoming the party of the upper middle class managerial kind of party. And I don't like that, because I think our policies are the ones, when we work hard and get legislation passed, I think they're the ones that protect working families and working people. We've always been the supporter of labor unions. We've still got that. We can never lose that. I remember being a kid, first hearing about Democrats, you're a kid, you don't know what that means. And I asked my grandpa, it's a long Democrat, so what's the difference between the two? And he said, well, it's simple. The Democratic Party is the party of working folks, and the Republican Party is not. But I don't think that means we need to always discredit some of the ideas even Republicans have about working folks. I mean, there are some Republicans that have very, I believe, good ideas about what the working class needs. And if we completely discount that as whole, then we're pushing away a lot of people that could use the help that from policies the Democratic Party has to offer. And I also think it's important we don't just say these things and talk about being the party of the working class when we're down an election cycle. I mean, one day when some of us, God willing, have some seats, we actually take some action and put our money where our mouth is.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the disconnects that we've had, is that we have the platform, but we certainly aren't messaging it correctly. Really at a grassroots level, when we're getting out there talking to our neighbors like you guys are doing, we're able to talk about that. And I think that's where we're seeing this shift in the election that was just had in November. I think Democrats are finally realizing that if we just talk about what we are for, then we're clearly, I believe, obviously the better party. And to be able to, like you said, work with Republicans, because we're going to have to work with Republicans in the state legislature. And that's okay, right? We need to get to that point where we're not just like fighting each other to be fighting each other. Because I think if we get back to our roots, well, that's where we need to be. For sure.
Yeah, we can't be fighting with each other, especially locally. People with local and state issues, I mean, partisanship really doesn't matter. And the more Democrats can get out and get involved in the community in non-political events too, to show people that, we're out there in even a non-partisan way, in ways that we are trying to help our community. I think that helps a lot too.
And you said getting out there, which while you were talking, and Natalie, we were just speaking about, we've been finding that, 'cause I'm a precinct captain as well, and we started to find out from some of our deep canvassing that Democrats, when they found out that somebody else like down the street was a Democrat that they didn't know, it's like, oh my God, I didn't even know there were that many Democrats out here. Are you seeing that when you get out and actually start talking to people? There are people who are Democrats, or at least share those values, some of those policy ideas, and it's like refreshing, or it's almost like an epiphany to them that there are others like them out there.
Well, last year when I ran for office, and we would and they would have a county party meeting, we were lucky if we got 6 people there, and they were all, my wife and I were the youngest couple there. And now I have to say, this all really started to change, and I'm sure you know the answer, was when Kamala Harris started making her push toward the presidency. And when Chance and I, we got together back in March and started talking about doing the reorg. Well, we have probably, what would you say, Chance, 25, 35 people every meeting?
Yeah.
And we're doing things in Breckenridge County that we either have never done or haven't done in years.
Yep.
Taking part in the county for the fair. We're doing parades. We're tabling at county events. Today, we were out setting up our Christmas decorations for the little drive through the light up the night Christmas display at Axtell. We're getting out there, making ourselves visible, because it's like you said, every meeting we've had since May, right, Chance? We've had somebody there that said, I didn't know you were there. I didn't know there were other Democrats, and they're relieved. They are relieved to find out they're not the only ones.
Yep. And we're hearing that all across the state. We're talking to different counties across the state, and we're hearing that. So I really do. I think there's a shift. I think we're going to be surprised at this election cycle on a local level and what we're doing in Kentucky. So thank you guys for all of that. And again, both of you are running. So Chance, tell me a little bit about your campaign and what you're hoping to do.
Yeah, so I'm running on a platform, very simple platform, better local jobs and land conservation here in our district. As I said, in my district, there's the Irvington Industrial Park. We're working, I would hope if I was lucky enough and honored enough to get elected magistrate, one of my top priorities would be getting that industrial park filled with a good tenant that brings some good jobs to the community. And if we could get some good jobs here in Irvington, I think Irvington is the main town in the district. A lot of great things would follow. It's a very impoverished district. There's a lot of agriculture, and I think those jobs would help in a lot of ways to just bring some money into people's homes. We've got a very low median income, and we need some jobs around here. Second is the land conservation. A very big issue here in Breckenridge County, hot button issue, has been solar farms. And listen, I'm all for diversity of energy and having green energy. I think solar is great. But what you have here are these corporations from hundreds of miles away coming in and investing in our land without a lot of promises down the road about how that land's going to be protected, what's going to happen to this farmland. And then I'm afraid a lot of people are going to get left holding the bag one day. And so land conservation for me is a big thing. I want investors to come in here, sure, but I want them to invest more in our people, in our jobs, not just our land, because a lot of people are realizing that in Kentucky, there's a lot of cheap land. And you see this in different fiscal court fights over data centers right now.
Right.
Which there are a lot of pros and cons. I personally think the cons outweigh the pros for a lot of these communities bringing in those data centers. But yeah, so just sustainable land use in Breckenridge County is a big thing. We don't have any sort of zoning in Breckenridge County, which many people think is a good thing. I think it definitely has its benefits, but it's allowing these corporations. I know there's this one solar corporation I looked at that was owned by a company that was owned by Goldman Sachs. You know, Wall Street doesn't care anything about the fields here in Breckenridge County. They're just wanting to make a buck. So for me, I'm running on a platform of sustainable land use, having companies come in and invest in our people instead of just our land. And then I think the better local jobs will follow. So those are my priorities, along with all the other things that come along with being a magistrate, making sure we have the best infrastructure we can have and making sure our money gets spent wisely at the county level and hopefully bringing in some grants. So, yeah. So if you live in the 4th District in Breckenridge County, give me a call.
And John, how about you? You're running Kentucky District 10, right? House District 10.
Right. This year's my third campaign. And I got to tell you that each year I learn a little bit more. I get a little better at it. I get a little stronger. When we finished the campaign last year, I had about 1,000 votes more than the other Democratic people on the ballot.
Great.
And to me, that means our message is getting out.
Heck yeah.
When I started this year, I already have, last year when I started the campaign, I had $0 in the bank. This year, starting the campaign, I've got about $3,000 already that I can do stuff with. And I'm really I'm looking at a lot of different ways to build on that. The party caucus, the House Party Caucus has reached out to me and other candidates, and they're trying to find ways to support us, give us advice, or they're starting a mentorship program that I find is really interesting. I want to say that our local county parties, Meade County next door, Hardin County, even Grayson County, they have really been stepping up to help support candidates in our area. You're not just out there by yourself anymore. This year, it is definitely a team effort. And I'll tell you, I'm truly blessed to have people like Chance working with us, because we need the young people coming in. You know, we've got, we're getting to the point where we're going to be able to start a Young Democrats club. And I think that'll make a big difference in building our party. As far as the issues that Chance was discussing, I just want to say that what I want to do is when our magistrates, when the fiscal court says this is what we need to do, I want to make sure, I don't want to say that we have regulations to support them, but we want to have guidance so that the counties aren't out there by themselves trying to deal with Goldman Sachs coming in and buying up property and saying, well, hey, you guys don't have zoning and planning, so that's our property and we're going to do
Right.
what we want with it. And, we need the state of Kentucky to say that's not going to happen in Kentucky.
Yeah. 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 The Goldman Sachs thing it's the same thing that you see in urban areas. We're seeing it around us, buying up rental homes, right? Just large swaths, tracts of homes and then renting them out and just not taking care of them. And just the properties just, deteriorate and it's just ruining the values of houses and neighborhoods. And they're just grinding through it and then they'll just throw it out when they're done, when they've ground out every dollar they can get out of it. And, doing the same thing with our land. I mean, Chance, to your point, that's something that you can't really necessarily get back. And then if they decide to abandon that solar farm for some reason for the newest technology, who's going to be left holding the bag on how do we, rehabilitate that land, right? It's going to be the people of the counties. That forward looking and putting those protective measures in place is really important.
I think for our county, if we can figure out how to be proactive instead of reactive on a lot of these issues, it will be good for us down the road.
Well, I love what you guys are doing. It's very inspiring, and hopefully, when we'll get the message out there and then you'll be inspiring other people in other counties as well. So again, appreciate what you guys are doing. We do like to do a little fun lightning round, rapid fire questions with our guests. If you guys are up for that, just to get to know you a little better. Are you brave?
All right.
Brave for us? All
Sounds
right.
good.
Yeah. I guess we'll go back and forth on this. We'll do 5 questions, rapid fire, and I guess I'll start with John.
All right.
Unless you, all right. What is your favorite holiday movie?
All right. I grew up watching black and white movies on old black and white television, and my favorite from when I was a kid was always "It's a Wonderful Life" with Jimmy Stewart. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
that scene where Jimmy Stewart George Bailey tells Mr. Potter, "No, I'm not going to take that money. You don't have enough money to buy my integrity," and he turns him down and goes back to his modest little life. That's amazing. That there are people that can't be bought. We need more people like that.
You cannot go wrong with that one. And what a great message.
That's
All
the
right.
backbone of society, that level of integrity. Yeah, that's a great one. Great
We
inspiration.
desperately need that back for sure. All right, Chance, what's your favorite restaurant in your community?
Favorite restaurant? Oh, I thought I was going to get the holiday one. I didn't know.
Well, you
Oh,
could
do
do
the
that.
holiday movie. Yeah.
Well, no, it's fine because you're right. You can't go wrong with that one because that's exactly what I was going to say too. So that's the only movie that makes me tear up at the end about every time. I love that movie.
Yeah.
But best restaurant in your community in Hardinsburg, there's a place called Nettie's. Nettie's has been around a couple years now, and it's really good food in Hardinsburg. So if you ever pass them through, get you some good comfort food at Nettie's.
Good.
We'll make a note of that. That's what we always look for when we travel. My wife and I are always looking for the local, drive around, look at where the construction trucks are parked in the morning. That's the best breakfast in town and places like that. We love it.
Yeah, so that was kind of a selfish question because we are kind of logging these for when we go around and find a good restaurant.
Right.
There you go.
Nothing
All
wrong
right,
with that.
whoever wants to take this one, you can raise your hand. Is there a politician that inspired you? All right, John?
All right, here we go. My first election, I voted for Jimmy Carter. And I think that Jimmy Carter is probably one of the most underrated, unappreciated presidents we had. I compared Jimmy Carter to John Adams because Jimmy Carter and John Adams both made decisions that were the right decisions to make, the ethical, honorable decisions to make, but it cost them their reelection. And they knew that when they made that. And so any man, that's a George Washington level of achievement there, where you can walk away from the power and knowing that you did the right thing. So those are my guys.
Sounds good. All right, next question. If you could ask Andy Beshear, Governor Beshear, one question, what would it be?
I'll take this one. I'm a diehard Louisville fan, and I know he was at the UK Louisville game on Saturday. And I understand he's a Lexington guy, but I want to know how much he enjoyed that beating they took on Saturday.
Love it. I think I'm going to call him out on this podcast and see if he'll answer that. That's awesome.
I know he tries to support both, but he was dressed in neutral colors on Saturday. So
that's rough. For a governor, that's rough.
Yeah, that is rough.
Blue and red. All right, this one will be a quick one so you both can answer it. On Christmas, would you rather be snowed in with a fire or on a white sandy beach somewhere? John.
Snowed in with the fire.
Heck yeah.
That's the only right answer.
Yeah, there we go. At home, right? That's awesome.
That's right.
That's great. Well, and finally, for Democrats listening to your area who want to get involved, what's your call to action? How can they reach out and help your candidacy, your organizations, your campaign? Chance, why don't you go ahead and give us the background on how people can reach you and help out?
Well, if people want to reach the local Democratic Party, they can go to our Facebook page, Breckenridge County Democratic Party, message us. My wife and I monitor that. Anybody who messages there.
Okay.
You could probably find John or I, our email on some of the campaign stuff that we've put out. You can email us. And then, my call to action would be, I'd love to see every single seat in the county with a Democrat running on it. We need Democrats running. It makes for better candidacies for the Republicans too. It makes sure that people are actually listening and fighting when we have competitive races, and people are campaigning instead of just signing their name up for a spot and waiting to get instilled into the seat next year.
That is a great point. Earn that position, earn that spot.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So John, anything to add to that from Chance? How to reach out? Anything you got going on there?
I sure want to echo Chance's call to action for candidates. Today is the 1st of December. We still have 4 or 5 weeks that we can get people on the ballot, and that has to happen. We cannot let folks just run unopposed. It gives them the impression that they have a mandate that does not exist.
Right.
What I'm trying to tell people is say, look, put your name on the ballot. It doesn't hurt if you lose. I've lost a race before, so I know you can survive it. And if you get your name on that ballot this time, next time around, you'll be that much better off. So if you're thinking about it, don't wait, do it now. As far as my campaign goes, my website is www.run, R-U-N, Whipple.run.
Love it.
And like Chance said, we're on Facebook, so hope to see you there.
Go ahead, Chance.
And then I'd like to say too, if there happens to be any Republicans in our county listening to the podcast, give John and I a call. We'd love to talk with you. We like talking to anybody, and we don't care if you're Republican. None of that really matters to us, and
That's right.
It's really just the issues we care about. We hope to hear from
anybody who really wants to help and who really cares. Let's have that conversation for sure. Well, thank you both for sharing your story and your passion for Breckenridge County. And to our listeners, remember, change starts at the local level. If you're inspired, reach out to your county party and get involved.
Yes. Thanks so much, guys. Super appreciate it. And
thank you.
Love what you're doing. Keep it up.
Thank you all.
Thanks a
Good to
lot.
be here.
All right. Take care. And that's it for this edition of What's Happening in Your Holler. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming podcasts or exclusive material. And don't forget, as always, you can join the conversation on our Facebook and Instagram pages or at blue.podcast.com. And if you like listening to our podcast, consider donating to help fund it, which you can do by clicking on the donate link at blue.podcast.com. And until next time, stay curious, keep the facts in focus, and never stop fighting for what matters. Peace out, everybody.